When becoming active in diversity, equity, and inclusion, new terms and ideas can become a little overwhelming and maybe even confusing. To begin to understand, embrace, and activate DEI, we must first examine exactly what we mean by diversity. We must be clear about what diversity is, what it isn't, and how to best engage with diversity to lead our communities and organizations towards inclusive excellence. I'm Raven Solomon, founder and CEO of Raven Solomon Enterprises, your trusted diversity, equity, and inclusion education and consulting firm. I'm going to ask and answer the question, what is diversity? Simply put, diversity is the presence of difference. The presence of differences in identities, backgrounds, experiences, abilities, and more. Our identifiers, or sometimes referred to as identities, inform both how we experience and navigate the world and how others experience us. Our identities as human beings do not end with just one single attribute. Who we are, how we identify, and how the world and public space interacts with us is really about how these attributes collide and intersect to form our experience of and in the world. Just like identities themselves, diversity can span the human demographic spectrum in full. Diversity is not reserved to just the presence of Black folk, or just the presence of women, or just the presence of LGBTQIA+ folk. Diversity is, again, the presence of difference. Typically, when we talk about diversity, we of course talk about some differences more than others. Typically, when talking about diversity, we absolutely talk about certain differences more than others. We're typically talking about the differences in identity that yield outcome disparity in many of our modern institutions, from banking and finance to the housing market to public and private education, criminal justice, healthcare, and the list goes on. These and numerous other systems were built on ideals not necessarily inclusive of all identities, utilizing and participating in those systems. Because of this, we must be mindful of how systems, organizations, and institutions can center and support historically marginalized and underserved communities. Diversity isn't singular. It isn't any one thing, but rather it is the makeup of various dimensions of identity or dimensions of diversity. An individual can't be, quote, diverse, but rather a group of people, say an organization, for example, or a community, can indeed be diverse. For something to be diverse, a vast array of identities such as race, ethnicity, age, ability, and countless other intricate parts of human experience must be present. These aspects of ourselves influence how we move through the world and need to be present in group and team dynamics to ensure that all voices are indeed heard and accurately represented. It is important not to confuse diversity with inclusion. Diversity just means that people of different backgrounds and identities are indeed present. But equity and inclusion go beyond mere presence. I think you would agree. In fact, if we don't understand equity and inclusion, diversity can be performative and, quite frankly, harmful. I hope this video has made an impact on your journey toward becoming a more inclusive individual or leader. Continue to follow Raven Solomon Enterprises across social media to join the collective movement of understanding, embracing, and activating diversity, equity, and inclusion.